let's go to True the Vote, by the way. So we talked about True the Vote Sunday night. As of Sunday night, Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips, the two principals of True the Vote, that entity that contributed largely to the 2,000 meals, they had been detained. They had been arrested and jailed, although they said they were in a detention center and not jail, for a week. For a week, as of the time we did our stream. I posted the highlight because I wanted to keep it in the public consciousness, that the idea that people were being jailed for contempt on temporary restraining orders, TROs, at early stages of proceedings for not divulging the identity of a person whom they alleged was a confidential informant who allegedly allowed them potentially or contributed to accessing the computers of a company and information of the CEO of the company, or information of the company that led to threats and whatever against the CEO, Konnech CEO, who allegedly had to go into hiding because of death threats, yada, yada. Okay. Konnech CEO, the CEO of Konnech, was then, after this lawsuit, but in the interim, indicted, formally charged on embezzlement and fraud. As these two individuals were jailed for contempt for not disclosing the identity of the confidential informant who provided certain information allegedly to the FBI. They have since been released by order of the Court of Appeal. We'll pull up the order. It's a short order that doesn't say much. And then there's more developments. So this is from the Texas Tribune or the Texas Tribune, depending on where you're from. Federal Appeals Court releases True the Vote leaders from jail. True the Vote's leaders appealed a contempt order by federal district judge Kenneth Hoyt to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit, arguing the finding was in error and the pair should be released. By Jessica Huseman, VoteBoot. Okay, so here we go. The coverage is made possible through VoteBeat, a nonpartisan news organization covering local election administration and voting access. The article is available for reprint under the terms of VoteBeat's republishing policy. After spending nearly a week in jail, Engelbrecht and Phillips, leaders of the Texas-based right-wing activist group True the Vote, have been released. They'd been held for contempt of court since Halloween. So it was Halloween to November 8th. I think they were released on midterms election day. They were released after having repeatedly refused to release the name of the man they called a confidential FBI informant who is a person of interest in a defamation and hacking case against them. The person remains unidentified. So they appealed the decision to the Fifth Circuit, arguing the finding was in error and the pair should be released. Appeals court granted the release, but kept the remainder of Hoyt's place in order. I forget what the remainder of that was. Did I see the order? Anyhow, we'll see if they talk about it here. This is then the newest plot twist. The CEO who had been arrested on fraud charges. Let's see what happened there. It's the newest surprise in an unusual case. Konnech, a small election software company based in Michigan, filed a federal lawsuit in September alleging that True the Vote, Engelbrecht Phillips, led a social media campaign of allegations involving Chinese election meddling, conspiracy, yada, 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 that damaged its business and prompted threats to its founder, Eugene Yu. Yu was arrested shortly thereafter, briefly confined to house arrest, yada, yada. Oh, but we have to say why. For violating the company's contract with Los Angeles County by illegally giving contractors in China access to data that was supposed to be stored only in the United States. You will recall people were saying information was being stored on servers in China last 2020. People called them crazy. I dare say I even was a little, what's the word? Suspicious, not suspect. I was a little suspicious myself. They get sued for defamation, computer hacking, something else. And then Eugene Yu, the CEO of the company, gets arrested for allegedly storing voter data, or at least apparently allowing contractors in China to access data that was only supposed to be stored in America. I think we can skip the rest of this. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, fine. Engelbrecht and Phillips were not held in prison, but rather a federal detention center. You know what? If I'm not allowed to go home, I'm in some sort of government prison. If I'm at a quarantine hotel that's a federally designated quarantine facility, I'm in prison. I don't care that that prison happens to be at a defunct Holiday Inn. It wasn't prison. They weren't arrested. They weren't detained. It was a detention facility. which is a temporary lockup facility used by the U.S. Marshals. I'd love to speak with Catherine and Greg to see what the conditions were. I know they have a locals page. I shared the link a while back. See if I can share it again. I'd love to talk with them. See what that. I'll see if I can find the video and see what it was like. It's not run by the Bureau of Prisons. Still, they were pleaded. Oh my goodness. They were in a detention facility, which is a temporary lockup facility used by U.S. Marshals and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Why the hell would they be there? Oh, it's not run by the Bureau of Prisons. Still, they repeatedly claim to be in prison in their many fundraising efforts in the past week. Yeah, that's prison. Okay, and if anyone's going to say that they're lying because they were only in a federal detention facility of the U.S. Marshals and Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, you've made a distinction without a difference, and they are not the liars. You might be. The day after their arrest, federal prison, yada, yada, she went, okay, it doesn't matter. I don't care about this. Okay, so I think the rest is not relevant. Those who thought that imprisoning Greg and I would weaken our resolve have gravely miscalculated. It is stronger than ever. Engelbrecht said in the statement, we are profoundly grateful for that. We will continue to protect and defend those who do the vital work of election integrity, and will make sure that their findings become a matter of public record. So they're out. They're out thanks to a federal court of appeal decision. I'm just reading the chat to see if I've done anything wrong here. Were they free to leave? No, they were imprisoned. R. Flatstone. TJ MacD. Detainment is detainment. Does not matter where you are. I think most people with standard intellectual honesty would agree. So they've been released, but that's not the latest twist in the saga. The latest twist in the judicial saga is that. Oh, no. Oh, son of a bee sting. Hold on. Archive. Let's see if I can just get an archive. Because not that I would. New York Times. Not that I would pay for that crap. I wouldn't pay for that crap. Nor would I even use it as toilet paper, because it would undoubtedly cause more problems. LA drops criminal charges against election software executive. Eugene Yu was accused of illegally sending data about poll workers to China in a case that became fodder for election deniers. Oh, it's the election deniers' fault for taking offense to the idea that Eugene Yu was allegedly sending data about poll workers to China. It's the election deniers who are to blame. Los Angeles County dropped criminal charges against the top executive of an elections technology company on Wednesday, bringing to an abrupt end an unusual case. How about an unusual end to a case that became the focus of Americans who distrust the country's electoral system? The district attorney's office said in a statement that it had dropped the case against the executive, Eugene Yu, because of concerns about the, quote, pace of the investigation, end quote, and the, quote, potential bias in the presentation, end quote, of evidence in the case. The office said the county had assembled a new team to determine whether any criminal activity occurred. Can you imagine when it comes to Eugene Yu, they're concerned about the pace of the investigation and the potential bias in the presentation. Can we apply that same standard to, I don't know, the defendants in January 6th? Pace of the investigation? My gosh, Eugene Yu was on house arrest, and after a couple of months, when did they charge him? It's been short. It's been no time at all. The pace of the investigation, we got to drop the charges. It's just not fair. But meanwhile, we've got people in pretrial detention for 2 years for January 6th accused. And just so everybody understands, I'm not saying to detain Eugene Yu in those conditions of the January 6th. I'm saying get the January 6th accused individuals out in for freedom while they await their trial. Maybe house arrest. You know, Eugene Yu got house arrest, but now he got the charges dropped. It's taken too long. Mr. Yu is an innocent man, says his lawyer, the man who's paid to say that he's innocent. In a statement adding that conspiracy theorists were using the arrest to further their political agenda, or they were just talking about the arrest because it's gosh darn suspicious. Last month, it wasn't even a month, LA prosecutors accused Yu, yada, 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 of storing data about poll workers on servers in China, a breach of the company's contract with the county, hence the fraud and embezzlement. The charges related only to poll worker data and had no impact on votes or election results. Distinction without a difference. They broke the rules, but not in this sense, only in another sense. The abrupt dismissal left unanswered questions about the case and Mr. Yu's suspected activities. The district attorney's office did not clarify whether the company had in fact stored data in China. It was also not clear whether additional criminal or civil charges could be filed against Mr. Yu or Konnech from Los Angeles. Konnech has about 20 employees. True the vote. Okay, and then the rest of this we know. Konnech sued True the Vote. This part we all know, accusing them of defamation and hacking. The pair were briefly jailed last week for refusing to disclose the name of the person involved in the suspected attack. Earlier court filing, Mr. Phillips said he had spoken with the grand jury in Los Angeles that eventually indicted Mr. Yu. So that's the latest. I had pulled up the actual criminal complaint against Mr. Yu because I thought it'd be interesting to read. Let me see that we're looking at the same thing here, and we are. Warrant, Mr. Yu, and then we'll just read it quick. Embezzlement violation of Section 503, overt act 1. He entered into a contract with Konnech on behalf of Konnech with the County of Los Angeles to provide secure poll worker management software for the county for the period of 1 year. The contract required, as delineated in the contract, shall comply with all applicable provisions of federal statutes and laws, yada, 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 yada. Okay. Overt act 2. He entered into a contract on behalf of the company. Okay. Compliance with the laws. This looks like number 1. Okay. October 20th, overt act 3. He entered into a contract. This looks like very much like the other one. Those terms included personal and contractual protections. Contractor shall screen and conduct background checks on all contractor personnel, yada, yada, yada. Overt act 4. Okay, the contract. As part of the contract, he agreed to, as delineated in Exhibit N of the contract, security requirements, yada, yada, yada. Overt act 5. As part of the contract, only contractor staff who are based in the United States and are citizens or lawful permanent residents of the United States shall have access to any county data. Okay. Overt act 6. It's getting real boring. Based on evidence recovered from a search warrant executed October 4, 2022. The district attorney's office discovered that Konnech employees, known and unknown, sent personal identifying information of Los Angeles County election workers to third-party software developers who assisted with creating and fixing Konnech's internal poll chief software. Overt act 7. On or about August 18, 2022, Luis Nabergoy, project manager for Konnech's contract with the County of Los Angeles, confirmed via the messaging app Ding Talk, it's a terrible name for an app, that any employee for Chinese contractors working on poll chief software had, quote, super administration, end quote, privileges for all poll chief clients. Mr. Nabergoy described the situation as a, quote, huge security issue, end quote. Overt act 8, and I think that's the last one. It is, and I don't want to show anybody's address in case there's something down there. It's a public document, but whatever. Nabergoy, project manager for Konnech's contract with the County of Los Angeles, sent an internal email to Konnech employees stating that the company was moving to a new stage in the company maturity, and we need to ensure that security, privacy, and confidentiality, or SIC, our client data. Nabergoy further stated that to accomplish this, personal identifying information would no longer be included in the fixing of Konnech's poll chief software. Okay, let me just see here. And then they accuse him of embezzlement, yada, 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 yada. Okay. Anyhow, this is a public document, so everybody can go read it. I'll give you the link. So, yeah, looks like they certainly knew some facts in that criminal complaint. But don't worry, people. It wasn't voting data. It was just poll worker data. So they violated their contract, but not in a way that can justify any of those nasty conspiracy theories about data.